Hello everyone. So till now we have learned the very basics of Python. Okay, so we'll learn more about the language as we go on to the applications. Okay, so the first of all, the very most important application of Python, that is data science. Okay, so data science basically consists of two parts, which is data analysis and data visualization. Okay, so analysis means basically how can you retrieve data from a database. Let's say there is a table, so this is your database, so how can you retrieve data from it, how can you add more data to it, on and so on. Okay, so this is data analysis. And data visualization is basically how can you visualize this data in the form of graphs. Okay, graphs, pie charts, plots, etc. Okay, so we'll see how we can use Python for all those. So for data science we mostly use two languages which are the very most popular, which is the R language and Python. Okay, so in this series of videos we'll be learning about Python, how can we use Python for data analysis and data visualization. Fine. So firstly we'll cover the data analysis part, that is NumPy and pandas. Then we'll move on to the data visualization part. Okay, so let's see what NumPy is. The other libraries like pandas or matplotlib, any library, like most of the libraries, they all are built over NumPy. Okay, so it is very important to know about NumPy first. Okay, and so what is this library, linear algebra library? So I have told you previously that Python consists of inbuilt codes, right? It consisted of that print function and so on. So it is just a library. Python has library which consists of inbuilt codes which we can use in our program. Okay, so this was the basic Python library. So this was the basic Python library. So there are certain libraries, okay, there are certain libraries that are not available in Python by default, because when Python was built they were not available, they were gradually added. Okay, so NumPy is just one of them. So in order to use this library, you first need to install NumPy onto your PC, and then you can import this NumPy into your Python package, and then write the Python program, not into the package, so not into the package, into your Python program, and then you can use the NumPy functions. Fine. So let us see how we can use NumPy. So in order to use NumPy, first we need to install it. Okay, so first head over to your terminal. Okay, and then simply type the command pip install NumPy. Okay, and then press the enter key and it will install. I am assuming that you have installed Python as I told you in the previous videos, that is from the official website of Python. However, if you have installed Python from the Anaconda distribution, okay, then simply you have to type the command conda install Python, rather not Python, NumPy. Okay, so using this command you can install NumPy onto your PC. Okay, then in order to check whether NumPy is installed onto your PC or not, simply go onto your Jupyter notebook and type import NumPy. Fine, and just run it. If you get any error, this means that your program this means that NumPy has not been installed yet. Okay, so before using NumPy, first we need to import it. So what I have done import NumPy as np. So basically what I am doing is that I am importing this NumPy library and I am using this np, which is as a short form for NumPy. Okay, so this is not necessary that I give here np, I can give any name here, I can give anything. So whatever I give here, I will have to use that in place of NumPy. I will show you what I mean by this. Okay, so firstly I have imported this package. Now before moving forward, the very first thing which we will be learning in NumPy is that NumPy arrays. Okay, so arrays, as I told you previously, that arrays are kind of lists. Okay, when we were dealing with lists, I had told you that arrays are kind of lists, only difference being that lists can store multiple data types, but arrays can store only a single data type, right? So then a question can come, why do we use arrays? Because list can store multiple data types, so it is more beneficial, right? However, you can head over to Stack Overflow, typing on Google, why is array important? So there is a very good article, so So I'll explain you what it says. Basically, what it says is that arrays occupy far much lesser space as compared to list for storing a database, rather data for storing data. Supposing that you have a database and you store it using a list. Let's say it takes 16 MB. Okay, if you store the same data using arrays, then it could have been stored in 4 MBs. Okay, so this is why we use arrays over lists when our database is very large, because for large databases this difference of into 4 will matter a lot, right? So we use arrays. Arrays are also important. So let us see what arrays are. Fine. So basically arrays are of two types. Okay, arrays are of two types. So first type is vectors and the second type is, so excuse me for my handwriting, vectors and matrices. Okay, so arrays are of two types, vectors and matrices. Vectors are the one-dimensional arrays and matrices are the two-dimensional arrays. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by this. So first let us see how we can create arrays. So basically there are two methods of creating arrays. The first one is using list and the second one is using built-in methods. Okay, so first let us see how we can create arrays using list. So let us take a variable in which I'll create a list. I'll store 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so in order to create an array, I'll store this array in the variable add. I'll simply do np dot array. Array is the function, and I'll pass the list into it. Okay, so let's see what our array is. So you can see I'm getting an error. Why did I get an error? Because this numpy package I have written it, but I have not run it, so it is not imported. Now I have run that. Now if I run this, you can see I am getting my array. Okay, so if I check the type of this variable, okay, numpy n-dimensional array. Okay, so I hope I am clear how we can create an array. So basically you can see this is a one-dimensional array, so it is called a vector. However, we can also create two-dimensional arrays. Simply enclose it, and what I am doing is simply I am passing a list inside a list, right? So I have passed this. Now if I run this, you can see I am getting a two-dimensional array which is known as a matrix. Okay, so this is how we can use list to create arrays. Okay, this is also valid for tuples. You can also create arrays from tuples. Okay, now let us see the built-in functions, how we can use them to create arrays. Okay, so let's say first let us deal with this arange function. What does it do? So what I'll do, I'll take a variable add and I'll simply do np dot arange. Okay, and then I'll have to specify, or I'll show you one thing. Just inside this bracket type shift and tab key. Okay, you will get what all parameters does that function accept. Okay, so in this manner you can go and check what all things it accepts. So I'll just tell you here. Let's say I give it a value 2, 15. Okay, so it will simply return me an array which consists of numbers between 2 and 15. So you can see starting from 2 till 14. Okay, as with many of the functions in Python, whatever you will write at last, it is always ignored. It goes one less than that last, right? And we can also do one thing else. If we can also do 2, 15 and 2. So this will give a step of 2. This means now it will proceed 2 plus 2 4, 4 plus 2 6, 6 plus 2 8, 8 plus 2 10 and so on. Okay, so I guess I am through with this arange function. Okay, so if you just specify 15, it will start from 0. Okay, let me show you once. If I do this, you can see it started from 0 0 1 2 3 4 till 14. Okay, so this was this arange function. I hope I am clear. So this once function is not of much importance. Basically it is used to create vectors, not matrices. Okay, so I can do add1 is equal to np dot once, and I have to specify the number of elements I need. Let's say I specify 5, then I'll get an array consisting of 5 elements and all will be 1. Okay, let me show you the array. You can see I'm getting an array consisting of all ones. Similarly, we have a zeros function which I did not include here. For that, zeros, the spelling is zeros. Okay, so now if I show you, it will consist of all zeros. Fine. Now coming to the linspace function, so it is also an important function. So of all these, arange and linspace are the most important functions. Let us see what linspace does. I'll create an array, okay, and I'll say np dot linspace, okay, and again you can check it what all things it accepts. I'll show you here. Let's say I'll give it 2, 15, okay, and comma, let's say I'll do 6. So let us see what do I get. So I have to display the array. So you can see I'm getting 2.4, 7.2, blah blah till 15. So what basically linspace function does is that it starts from 2 and goes till 15, and the third argument denotes the number of elements I need. Okay, so there's a difference between this arange and linspace function. In arange, the value doesn't go till the second argument, it goes till one less than that. However, in linspace it goes till that element, right? And in this, let's say I had something like 2, 15, and it was, let's say 6. Okay, so here 6 means after 2 print 2 plus 6 is 8. So after 2, 8 will be printed, right? You can see after 2 I'm getting 8. However, in this case, linspace, 6 basically means that you have to print 6 elements, right? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So this is the basic meaning of the arguments in linspace and arange functions. Okay, I hope I'm clear. You don't have to learn all these. You just have to understand it, and as we use, you'll get familiar with all these, right? So we are through with this linspace. Now the I function. The I is just basically used for creating matrices, and basically it creates an identity matrix. Okay, if I do np dot I, okay, and it's, let's say I'll pass 4, 4, and if I display the array, you can see I've got an identity matrix consisting of 4 rows and 4 columns. If I do 4, 3, I'll get an identity matrix consisting of 4 rows and 3 columns. Fine. So this was the built-in methods. Now we have some more built-in methods, which are the random methods. Okay, they are used to generate random numbers. Let's see what they do. So suppose I have add rand, okay, add rand. So we use np dot, first we have to call that random module, and inside this random module we have this rand function. Okay, so what this rand function does is basically it returns me a random number. Okay, a random number between 0 and 1. So if I show you rand, so this is my array. So if I show you, I've got a random number because I just call this method without giving any argument. However, if I, let's say I'll give 6 here, so it will give me 6 random numbers between 0 and 1, and since it is giving me more than one value, now it has to be stored in an array, and in that case I'll get an array. Fine. So this is just the basic application. Rand gives me a number between 0 and 1, and they are uniformly distributed. Okay, uniformly distributed means between 0 and 1. If I give 6, so all the 6 numbers will be at regular intervals. Okay, so now coming to the next part, which is rand n. Let's see what rand n does. Let's say I have a array n, okay, add n, and I'll do np dot random dot rand n. Okay, again let's see what output do we get here. So arn, you can see I'm getting a random number, but if I specify how many elements do I need, I'm getting an array again. But the only difference in these two is that the rand function generates uniformly distributed numbers between 0 and 1. However, it doesn't have any limit. Rand n doesn't have any limit. It can give me any number. You can see it is negative, it is positive, it is less than -2, rather, yeah, and we can get any number, right? So this is this rand n function. I hope you are through with this. Fine. Now we have rand int. So as the name suggests, rand int generates integers. Arr int is equal to np dot random dot rand int. Okay, So if I specify here 5, let me show you what I get. So basically what it does is that it will generate a random integer which is less than 5. Okay, you can see I'm getting 3. If I run it again, I'll get 1, and so on. Okay, I hope I'm clear. So if I just do in this manner, let's say I'll give 4 comma 20. So this will generate a random number between 4 and 20. Okay, you can see I'm getting 17. Again, as we did earlier, if you need more than one value, you can specify how many values you want. Let's say I'll say I want 6 values between 4 and 20. So it will now give me an array consisting of 6 elements, and it will have random numbers between 4 and 20, 4 included and 20 not included. Okay, so I hope you're through with this rand int also. So just go through, just try giving random values to it. You'll understand what all this function does. Okay, so now coming to the methods. Array methods are used to perform certain operations on arrays. Let us see what do I mean. Let's say I have an array, okay, and my array consists of np dot linspace. I have numbers between 2 comma 20, and I'll have, let's say, 8. Okay, so this is my array. Okay, fine. Now what I'll do, I'll show you what reshape function does. If I do add1 is equal to add dot reshape, and since it has 8 elements, I can have, let's say, 2 and 4. So I'll do 2 comma 4. Okay, now let me show you what add1 array is. So you can see it has now 2 rows and 4 columns. So basically the reshape function is used to convert a vector into a matrix and vice versa. Fine, I hope you are getting the idea. You can try it out, you can give different values, you will get what I'm trying to say. Fine, so you have to specify, like here we have 8 elements, so it should match, right? If I, let's say, give here, I'll give here 1. Okay, so you'll see that I'll get an error now, because now it can consist of at most 4 elements, but I have 8 elements, so you can't give that. Fine. And now coming to the shape. So basically shape is not a method, it is an attribute. So how can you distinguish between a shape and an attribute is that attributes don't have parentheses at the end. You can see I have not given parentheses at the end of shape, so it is an attribute, not a method. Okay, so let's see what shape does. So basically shape is just for checking, like if you have a variable, you can just call the shape attribute and it will give you the number of rows and columns it has. Fine, so you can see it is giving me, it has 2 rows and 4 columns. So since it is a tuple, you can access the number of rows or the columns. Like if I do shape of 0, I'll get 2. If I give shape of 1, I'll get 4. Okay, so in this manner you can access the elements in the shape tuple. Okay, so I'm through with this reshape and shape function. Okay, and I'll show you this copy function a bit later, because you have to understand slicing for that. Now these are the general functions, that max, min, etc., etc. As the name suggests, I'll show it to you in this array itself. Where's the array? Yeah, it is here it is. So what max function does is basically, if I do add dot max, it will return me the maximum in that array. Okay, similarly the min returns me the minimum in that array. Fine, and the max arg and min arg basically returns the index. Okay, I think I made a mistake. Okay, so min arg, it should be arg min. Okay, so it just returns the index at which that minimum element is present. Fine, ax. Fine, the 20 is present at 7, so I've got 7 here. So we are through with this. Now the d type. D type is also an attribute. The d type basically returns the data type of elements in that array. Okay, so since array consists of float elements, right, it has decimal values as well. So if I do a or the d type, you can see I'm getting float. However, if I would have done here like a range, this means now it is a like integer array. Okay, so here I can remove it for now, because now it tells me to take a step of 8, right? So now it won't match the number. So now if I see, you can see I'm getting an integer, right? So D type is used for that. So we are through with the basic methods. I think now you know the difference between linspace and arange. So out of all these, arange and linspace will be the ones we will be using, and here we would be using a lot this reshape function. Okay, so just go through it once. In the next video we'll see the basic indexing and slicing and the conditional selection in arrays. Okay, so thanks for watching. Meet you in the next video.